Welcome to our webinar regarding the 2023 Selective High School Test Information. And this is David, the Admin Manager at Pre-Uni College Head Office. And I'm quite happy to see you all tonight. And firstly, as we approach the end of the year, I'd like to thank for all your child's hard work and continued support throughout this year. For the success in the academic result. So today's webinar is mainly focused on our Year 4 students and parents. And I think most of our Year 4 students have finished their OC exam in November, last month. And I believe all our students should be successful. And hopefully they will get an offer from the OC school next year. So for those students who finished the OC exam, the outcome is expected to be released in January. They said mid-January, that means during the summer holiday period. So we can find out our student result in mid-January next year. So once you got an offer, you need to complete and return the response form before the due date. Normally, it's usually within 1 week after the placement outcome. So please make sure you submit your offer response form by the due date. For those students who got a reserve, that means in the waiting list, they will process the waiting list from end of January. Due to the tight schedule for the OC placement process, especially for this year, due to COVID pandemic, it's quite tight schedule. So they will only process the reserve number by 28th of January. So they will release the reserve list and the last reserve number who got a last offer from each OC school will be available on the 20th of January. So they said at 5 p.m. 20th of January, any students who already accept offer will be removed from their reserve list. This scenario is applied to students only who got a reserve list, reserve number from the first choice and offer from the second OC schools. Yes. For the students who just got the reserve number, that means they can wait until February. Yes. Okay, so now it's time to prepare for the selective school placement. Getting into the selective school will be another big challenge. I think the most challenging goal for our students, and to be able to succeed, we should be aware of all the latest test information and also the preparation, the summer preparation throughout next year. So in this webinar, I'd like to share the latest information about the selective school exam and the schedule and the score calculation and the preparation schedule provided by Pre-Uni College. And also the Miss Kelly Jones will arrive shortly, and I invited her to join the webinar and asked her to provide the latest information about reading test component in the selective school exam. So she will be joined for the next 10 minutes. Okay, let's get started. For current year 4 students, they should know the exam date. The Selective High School Placement Test for 2024 entry will be on 9th of March in 2023, which is Thursday, Term 1, Week 7. So we have 1 year or more preparation period. So next year in October, the high-performing student team will open their application website, online website, and then parents are invited to apply online by middle of November. So during that time, and we will give a lot of advice and reminder to make sure every student's parents complete their application without any problem. And once you load your application, the school assessment score will be provided by the school principal, your charter school principal, and they are expected to submit by end of term 4 next year. Yeah. And then in 2023, 2 weeks before the exam, you will get a test asserted letter with the test information, and then there will be a big one-day centralized test on Thursday, 9th of March. And usually they release the outcome for the selective school in July 1st, first day of July. This is a key date we have to remember during next year. Okay, I got heaps of questions in the chat box. Yeah. After this presentation, I will take another time to answer your question. So please feel free to post your question on the chat box. So as you may know, the available prices for the year 7 entry into the selective school is quite limited. There will be around 4,200 places for year 7 entry. But the number of applicants has been increased. So the recent official number was over 15,000. So usually to get into selective school, they should be expected to be placed in within 30%, top 30%, less than 30%. Yeah. It's very high competition, isn't it? Yeah. Many parents are asking whether there is the latest information about entry scores. They recently changed the calculation of placement score. So current year 6 students set for the exam last March and got an offer in July. So still they are waiting for the late offer from the reserve list. So the actual official entry score for each selective school will be available in April next year. So the latest one is 2021 entry scores, which is based on out of 300 marks. Yeah. So I think the school rank will nearly the same next year. So you can refer to the 2021 selective school rank based on the entry score. So in this case, James Lewis is always number 1, more than 2 decades, followed by Broken Hill, North Sydney Boys, Hornsby Girls, Sydney Boys, North Sydney Girls, Heroin, Normanhurst, Porter Street, and Sydney Girls. They are the top 10 selective school, most popular schools, and the parents. So once we have the recent one, we will provide you as soon as possible. The test format, it was a big headache last year. Now, most of them are quite familiar with the new test format. The only concern is whether it will be paper test or computer-based test. They'll be expected to be computer-based test in 2023 because they already implemented online test for the OC placement this year. So they will check the online test framework again, and they will try to implement more robust computer-based test platform for the 2023. So we need to be prepared for the computer-based test from next year. And Cambridge assessment always design and provide the test questions. And computer-based test will be implemented by Jenison Education Group. So you already experienced with this platform, similar to NetPlan Online. So we will use the exactly same platform for our trial test course. It will be very similar to the actual Jenison Education platform. And also Cambridge assessment, question style, and the way of designing the questions and curriculum framework is quite, now we are very familiar with their strategy and program. So we feel very confident to provide relevant test questions for all our students from the beginning of next year. So you may notice there is a writing test. Compared to the OC, there is another test component, writing test, 30 minutes writing test. And as you can see, the number of questions and testing time is different. So reading 30 questions in 40 minutes, and mathematical reasoning 35 questions in 40 minutes. Thinking skill that contains critical thinking and also the sort of non-verbal reasoning. So 40 questions in 40 minutes. So roughly 1 minute per question. Okay, so from 2021, they changed the way of calculation of placement score. So now the maximum possible score is 120. That include out of 20 school marks. So 100 marks from the exam and additional 20 marks from the school English and maths. So total 120. So reading 25, mathematical reasoning 25, thinking skills 35, writing 15. So English section, reading and writing will be 40, 25, 35, and extra 20 from the school. So as you may know, the school mark is just 16%. Yeah. Usually it was 1/3 the total mark, but from last year, it has been dramatically reduced, and school score will affect just 16%, and majority of the mark of 84% will be just based on your test performance. So the test preparation is very critical. You should achieve the very good mark in the test. You cannot rely on school score contribution. Around 30% from the thinking skills, and the English part, reading, writing, and also school will provide about 8% of English mark. So total 42% of the mark would be English skills, reading comprehension skills and writing skills. So we should put more focus on improving our English skills. And we have a vast preparation program for English component from term of next year. There are many questions about this. What if the school doesn't want to provide the school mark? Yeah, especially for private school, like most Catholic school, independent school, there is a case they don't want to process any selective school application, and they decline to offer the school mark, in that case, you should seek the exemption for the school mark, or as long as your school principal is willing to sign on your application, you don't have to worry about school mark. But your child should achieve the very good exam mark, because they will only count the exam score. Out of 120 will come from the exam. As you can see, reading 31, mathematical reading 35, thinking 35, writing 90. So 50 from the English and 70 from the mathematical reasoning thinking skills. Yes. So still 120. Yeah. So some parents just misunderstood it will be 100 mark. No, it will be 120 mark to make comparable with other students. So in the recent selective school placement test, we got heaps of information about the question and lots of valuable feedback from our students. And this is summary. So this year's test was around medium level, for English hard level, mathematical reading was too easy, but reading and some thinking skill questions require very high level of comprehension skills, analyzing skills, and especially reading contains lots of stimulus, which is very long amount of reading, which is time consuming. So the reading test was the most challenging test for us. Writing test is 30 minutes writing, which is quite enough time to complete one piece of good writing according to the topics. Yeah. And most students are quite happy about our STTC program. The test level was very accurate compared to the actual exam, and they could learn lots of good exam technique and time management skills. So we are quite happy about their performance, and our outcome was fantastic. We got 69 James Root students, and over 80 Burkham Hill, and over 60 North Sydney boys. We got very good results this year again. So I think Ms. Keller will join soon, and she will explain more details about the reading test structure. Basically, it contains 4 to 5 stimulus texts. They need to read first, and then tackle 6 to 10 questions per each text. That is quite time consuming, even though the number of questions is less than other test component. Still, 40 minutes it feels not enough to complete all the questions. Mathematical reading was the easiest one, and it covers most of the expected curriculum and topics, so they could finish in time, and also just to double check the answers again within 40 minutes. So we don't have to worry about this part, as long as they just continue with us with WMT and STTC. We will cover most of the essential topics in mathematical reasoning. The thinking skills, yes, we got heaps of resources for thinking skills, and there are more problem-solving questions rather than critical thinking. But in the critical thinking, there are several quite tricky questions. They spend more time for the critical thinking part. So that's why a bit medium or hard level in the thinking skill test. But generally speaking, most of the topic has been covered during the WMT. So when you check our Cyber School website, you can find all the actual test papers, questions, answers, and the test review video from our teachers explaining all the questions one by one. So please double check, and if you haven't checked it yet, please go to cyber school and find out and try the most recent selective school exam papers. It's all there now. So you get much better idea about the exam level, and what is the best way to complete each question. So detailed video is available. So during next year, to prepare for the selective school exam, we will put more focus on STTC, that will start from term 1, and year 5 WMT, and holiday course will also just focus on selective school exam. And we will soon announce the 29th of ASAP, that is the last program before the exam, simulating the actual exam day, and they can try the most realistic paper. So current year 5 students will get information about the next day soon. It's one of the biggest events at Pre-Uni. So from term 1 next year, year 5 term 1 WMT course, the timetable has been changed. Please check out the latest one, and more sessions available. And it will be more relevant for the exam preparation, covering all the required topics in writing, reading, mathematical reasoning, and thinking skill part. So some parents just want to do the STTC without any strong foundation. The test practice course is just taking the test. It's not a lesson. You should learn the knowledge, build a strong foundation before taking the challenging test papers. So WMT course is quite highly recommendable to continue. And also lots of new services through the cyber school for the revision, lots of new activity weekly, as well as new module activity. Your child will need to do some additional work online, lots of quiz, revision quiz, writing, rewriting, lots of activities will be introduced. And we will start select trial test course from term 1. To practice more question types and making them familiarize all question styles on the computer-based testing environment, and we will make them increase their speed and accuracy in the test. And on the exam day, our aim is they feel fully confident and fully prepared for the exam without any nervousness. So selective trial test course will start from term 1. So that means we have maximum 33 set of trial tests available. Earlier is better. So maximum 33 tests we can offer for your child. All are different test papers, test questions, and term by term, we are expecting gradual improvement. And at the end of the course, your child, we want to make your child to full potential for the exam and get the best mark on the exam day. Okay, so from term 1, you will notice the lesson time has been increased. Extra 30 minutes, 4 hours due to extension work. And for the STTC, we will offer additional reading test online. After the official reading test, your child can do the additional reading test with the same format, so 1+1. And also writing, there is a read writing services. So once finish the writing, you get the feedback from your English teacher, get a mark, and then feedback. Then you can read write, submit again, and the teacher will assess again, and you will get better in writing as time goes by. So to increase the writing skill, we will provide the top 5 writing samples inside the school. So the best example of the writing piece of writing from your cohort, and you will get better idea of what is the best way to organize the writing. And for the comprehension, we already opened the Readings Weekend test practice course on Cyber School, which is additional free courses for our active students. And also, we are considering to offer more with other components. So please up to date with us and utilize all available courses offline, online, and let's improve our children's reading and writing skills to the end. Writing, reading is very important component. I don't have to worry about mathematical reading. Our students are very good at mathematics skills, but I'm concerned about reading skills from now on. So we will put more focus on that. Okay, so I'm wondering whether Kelly's here. Hello, Kelly.
Yes, I'm here. Hello, David.
Thank you. Thank you for joining the webinar. Yes.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. So please let our parents know how the important in the reading comprehension skills in the test. Yes. I need your valuable advice.
Happy to be here and provide that. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me in the webinar. Thank you, David, as well. So my name is Kelly, and I'm an English trained teacher, and I've been doing curriculum support and development for many, many years now. So I'm here to offer my best advice about the new test and the way that it's changed, and some of the best strategies that you and the students, I realize I'm speaking to some students and parents here, so I'll use you differently at times, the best ways that you can prepare for those tests. So I'll take you through these 4 topics. First of all, just a brief overview of what the standard reading comprehension skills are. Then I'll talk to you about the gapped texts and the multiple matching texts, which are both the new reading comprehension components in the selective test. And then just some tips at the end about how to best manage the test conditions and the time, the way that it is now. So, I mean, I guess it goes without saying that the reading comprehension tests are multiple different skills. Just take a look at this list. These are the ones I'll look at a little bit closely in about 5 or 10 minutes time. The test includes a wide range of questions, multiple choice, that target each one of these types of skills. So some of these skills are considered elementary, basic level comprehension, and then they move through to highly advanced critical and creative thinking questions. If students understand what type of question they're being asked, then it gives them an advantage because they're able to read more quickly, more efficiently, find the meaning or the detail that they need to quickly, which is important in test conditions, and then be able to discern, which means decide, what is the best option. So in multiple choice questions as well, we've got the added complexity of there at times being more than one right answer. In fact, sometimes all 4 options, or in the matching section, there may be multiple options that have similarities and they all feel somewhat correct. So being able to have the thinking skills to discern between those options is really important. So finding the main ideas and recalling facts and details, understanding sequence, these are sort of basic reading comprehension skills. Some things that are a little bit more difficult may be making predictions or finding and understanding the meanings of words in context. And the more advanced questions or extension type questions will be drawing on the student's ability to think outside of the box, if you like, and also draw on their background information or general knowledge. So making predictions, thinking about inferences or implicit information, being able to summarize and paraphrase, understand an author's purpose, etc. So these are all our main reading comprehension skills. I mean, they come up in every type of reading test, and the selective is no different. Let's just have a look firstly at gapped text and what that means. So, I mean, the gap means that some sentences have been removed from a text, like a traditional closed passage, and then there are options provided, and the students need to decide which option belongs in which gap. That's the basic overview of it. So they're usually around like 600 to 800 words long. It depends on the readability of the text. So that is how sophisticated the vocabulary is, or how dense the text is, and how long it takes to read. So there's a lot of careful sort of consideration put into that, I know, when they create the tests, and they might vary in length slightly. Basically, a gap text is going to be asking students to skim and scan the text, be able to ascertain or anticipate what type of information would be drawn out of that text. So the main ideas, the meanings of words in context, what comes first, second, third, the structure of the text, and then there'll be questions about details. So that's where we can find the here questions in the text. Students might know that from their primary school reading lessons, here, hidden, and head types of questions. And these will also touch on students' ability to be able to understand implicit and inferred information as well. Sometimes people ask me why the test changed, why these new sections have been included. Essentially, it makes the test more equitable and it's more even playing field for everybody. It's because this tests each student's ability to think and critically analyze and create ideas on the spot. It's not a memory test. It's not something that you can, be tutored per se to be able to remember or memorize answers to anything. It's a skills test. So learning the skill and practicing the skill is what is going to give students an advantage here. Well, not an advantage, maybe an advantage, but to reach their full potential is what I should say. So the gap text requires students to also have a really broad understanding of vocabulary and words in context. So it's most important that students do a lot of wide reading and are exposed to a lot of different general ideas. And this occurs, in WAMT courses, but they can also do this at home, just in their own free time with books, or if they're reading online, whatever text it is. Having a very broad knowledge and being able to increase vocabulary helps to be able to increase the accuracy in these tests as well. So let's take a quick look at an example. This is the one from the department, so you can find it easily on their website if you'd like to look at it more closely. You'll notice the text has a topic, which is octopus farming. There are gaps throughout the text, 15 through to 20. And then we have a box, A through to G, and those are all the options of the sentences that belong somewhere back in the text. One of them doesn't belong at all. It's incorrect. Now, the way that students can approach this, there's a couple of different strategies, and I don't like to subscribe to one in particular because it depends on each student. Especially gifted and talented students, they may have often different ways of approaching the task, and all of these are correct. So I wouldn't like to, narrow down to just one correct way. However, being able to read quickly and accurately, scanning the text, skimming the text, looking at the topic sentences, for example, of each paragraph, looking at the beginning and the end of the text for the summary and introduction and summary. These are some really quick ways that they can learn to save time to be able to answer these accurately and quickly. As well as that, reading for meaning and reading in context. So looking at the sentences, for example, before and after the gaps, being able to predict what might appear in a paragraph, understanding the author's purpose, understanding the target audience, for example. These are all skills, thinking skills, reading comprehension / thinking skills that can improve a student's ability to read for meaning accurately, and ultimately what we want in a test is fairly quickly as well. Students always comment that there was so much reading to do. I was under pressure. There wasn't enough time. I didn't get through the reading. I wasn't able to read it well enough. And sometimes that's because the text is very long and dense. Other times it's because the student is approaching the test not in the most efficient way. So they're trying to read for meaning from the first line to the last line as their first approach. And this is not the most efficient approach especially in a test condition. Now, the next type of reading test, the new style, is multiple matching. It's essentially a paraphrasing exercise. So there's 4 extracts given to the students. They're based on a theme or a topic, one idea. Then each one of those extracts has its own topic or its own purpose. Altogether, those 4 extracts add up to around about the same, 600 to 800 words. Of course, we've only seen one test so far, but based on the practice ones and our knowledge of how much students can read in that time frame, we would expect, again, depending on the complexity of the text, around that length. The same reasons that the gapped texts were included, it's the same again. It makes things more equitable. It moves away from a content or a memory-based test to a skills-based test. The Department of Education is very clear about its expectations around the gifted and talented or selective school entry program, that it needs to be equitable so that every student that sits the test has the potential to exhibit their thinking and reading and mathematical skills and get into selective school if they would flourish there. I know the department, in the reports that they've written, you can read them on their website as well about this, the inquiry they did in 2018. They want to move right away from sort of privilege equaling entry into selective schools. That's not in the spirit of the selective school system. So this type of test is actually really good news for everybody because it makes it more equitable and accessible for every student to be able to achieve. Multiple matching requires finding the best match, and that means using clues. Now, some of these clues can be explicit, which means they're very obvious. They're right there in the text. You can put your finger on the word and there it is. They can be literal. They could be figurative. So that's looking at metaphors or extended and mixed metaphors and similes and other figurative language techniques, which the students learn about at school and also in courses like the WMT, for example. They may be as well implied or inferential. Now, these are our higher order thinking skills. Again, having a broad vocabulary helps here, and being able to read for meaning quickly and accurately also helps. We'll take another look at an example. So you notice up the top it says, read the 4 extracts below on the theme of dreams. And then we have the 10 clues, numbered 21 through to 30, followed by the 4 extracts, A, B, C, and D. Now, all of these extracts are based on dreams. Some of the extracts are informative. Some are persuasive, some are entertaining. Some of them are written in the first person or the third person. Some will use technical language. Some are using figurative language. But all of them are related to the topic of dreams. So being able to understand the text types, the author's purpose, the main idea, what type of language is being used, skimming and scanning the text, looking for key words, nouns, verbs in the beginning and the end, highlighting main ideas, etc. All of these skills help the students to then be able to much more quickly and accurately match these clues with which text they relate to. There's a couple of different strategies. Again, some students might find reading all of the clues first very useful and underlining what they are looking for, and then going into the extracts. If you can balance information and hold information in your brain, like short-term memory, then that's a great strategy for you. Some students prefer to read all of the extracts first and highlight the key ideas, main ideas, think about the author's purpose, etc. that way, and then go back to the clues because that works for them. Again, I can't say if there's a right or a wrong approach, but being able to practice which there's multiple styles of answering the test questions is really, really important. Being able to experiment and try on different styles of answering. Otherwise, for some students, I suppose the first test they've ever sit like this is the actual selective test. And yes, that doesn't mean that they can't answer, but having the practice and being familiar with the format, of course, reduces the anxiety and the pressures around what to expect. And also it gives you a good chance to be able to experiment with what type of reader you are and how you think and best process and remember information. So how to target and practice these skills. Oops, just go back. As I've said, we can, practice them, of course, in the WMT courses and other courses and the selective test, and also wide reading at home and being able to consciously put these into practice. I will just now for a few minutes go through the main types of questions before we finish up. And I think this is important because it really draws attention to the fact that there are lots of different types of questions and they're targeting different types of skills. It's the skills that you want to prepare for as a thinker, as a gifted and talented or extension thinking student. These are the skills. So it's not about content. Anybody can download content these days, but what do you do with it? How do you think about it? That's what makes you a great thinker. So finding the main idea, I won't read all of this out to you. You can all read for yourself, I think. But you just look at the bottom point there, sorry. When answering the main idea about a question, the main idea, ask yourself, what is the text about overall? That's a simple one. Recalling facts and details, as I've said, entry-level question. It's asking you just to look back into the passage and find a fact, for example, or a quote or something specific from the text. It was stated in the passage. These ones are simple as well. Understanding sequence. So this is the sequence of a text type. That is the beginning, the middle, and an end. All the indicators that show us those sections. It's also the sequencing of ideas and how they flow together, how paragraphs and ideas flow together, sentences flow together. This is all part of fluency. So learning to read really well makes you a better writer as well. So questions about sequence often contain words, our signal words such as first, then, after, next, before, and then there's, sequencing of ideas, which is specific to each text. Recognizing cause and effect. Yes, there's a whole bunch of signal words to show those as well. That's basic. More advanced recognizing cause and effect, that's going to appear over the course of, paragraphs or perhaps even over the course of an entire text. And it may require some background thinking as well, because it brings into account some assumptions and some predictions that you could make. Comparing and contrasting, this is a higher order skill. So on the Bloom's taxonomy, if you want to write that down, if you don't know what that is, Bloom's taxonomy, check it out on Google later. It gives you a pyramid of different types of questions, simple, medium, right through to the most extension questions. Comparing, contrasting, and creativity evaluation, they exist at the top of the pyramid. They're the most difficult. So the questions that are asked about that, are about looking for what is the same, what is different. These appear in every selective test, every practice test, because the first two texts of reading comprehension is comparative. So there's definitely always this. Making predictions, we've talked about that. Having a good guess at what might be coming next based on the information, not just the information, but also the style and the structure of the text. Finding word meaning, this is all about vocabulary. So some students ask in the practice test, why do we do vocab? It's not, part of the test. It is, because vocabulary is your tool. They are your tools. As many words as you've got is how much you can articulate. So words are power here. The more words you have, the more power you have to be able to express yourself and also read and understand somebody else. So vocabulary is everything. And being able to read and understand what words mean in context, especially words that you're not familiar with. So again, I would say in every selective test and the trials, there's always words the students haven't seen before. This is very important because it's asking them to then use the knowledge that they have to be able to discern, predict, assume, make educated guesses about what that word means. That's a skill in itself, and a very important skill, because lifelong learning and education hopefully means that you will always be learning and you're always going to find new words and new ideas. So the idea is not to master the content and store it away like that's it. The idea is to be able to learn how to master your thinking and problem-solving skills. How can I find this out? What skills do I have? What strategies do I have to be able to decipher this information? Drawing conclusions, making inferences. Again, these are higher order thinking skills because they require thoughts about the whole text and what its purpose might be. Sometimes this is very obvious. It's a recipe. I don't think a recipe would appear in the test, but for example, other times it's far more sophisticated. It will change depending on who wrote the text, what year it was written, which country it was published in, whether it was written by a male or a female, or, what culture or background the person was from. So these can be quite challenging questions as well. Distinguishing between fact and opinion. Most primary students are fairly comfortable with this because they've done a fair bit of learning around text types already. And what distinguishes somebody expressing their opinion as opposed to an information type text that has more technical or scientific statistical data, etc. I've talked a lot about identifying the author's purpose. It's important because it gives so much information about the text from the get-go. So being able to know if it's for persuasion, for the purpose of information or to inform, to describe or be discursive or to entertain, knowing very quickly what the author's purpose is means that the student can make a lot of educated assumptions around what to expect next. Interpreting figurative language, also very important. These are our poetry skills. There's poetry in every test just about. I think there is now. So understanding, knowing what the main figurative language techniques are, like metaphors, similes, personification, alliteration, those things, and then understanding what their effect is. So this is the lesson part. You know, David mentioned it's one thing to just take the test. It's another thing to train for it. You know, I suppose it's like a race or something. You turn up to run a race, but if you haven't done the correct amount of training prior, then you're not going to perform to your full potential. So having the lesson, learning about what is the effect of figurative language? Why is it being included? And how do I understand it for myself? It's really important because, as I said, figurative language, not only does it appear in all the tests, it's also beautiful. It's one of the nicest things about expressing ourselves as human beings, being able to use figurative language to explain our own experience and understand others. There are, you know, many experiences that we just can't convey literally. And summarizing, I think everyone would be comfortable with the idea of a summary. Questions might ask, you know, what is the best summary, you know, option here? Or it might just be a case of summarizing the paragraphs in the multiple matching, for example. That would be looking at what the main idea is. So main idea and summary are quite similar. Okay, my last points for today's session is just around time management. So the test is a reading comprehension test, but the test is a test itself. And I mean by that there are skills that, you know, students can use or that are asked of students in the test that are not to do with reading, but they're to do with other things like time management, being able to make decisions about what the priority is for them. So knowing when to leave a question and come back to it, knowing which questions to come back to, knowing which questions they're very confident with and are fine to leave as is. These are all time management skills, because owning over one question that is worth the same amount of marks as the next 10 questions you don't get time to do. I mean, this is illogical, but under pressure, these are kids as well. They're under a lot of pressure and they have anxiety or, you know, nerves around sitting the test conditions. So even the greatest reader can draw a blank if they have a lot of stress and not sure how to approach. So I've said here to use the time wisely and work steadily. I see students every practice test rushing as if finishing first gets you more marks. It doesn't. Getting correct answers gets you marks, not finishing first. Finishing and then having extra time, what do I do with it? So being able to make good decisions about what to do with that time. Maybe it's not going back and reading every single question again. Maybe it's particular sections and learning how to make those decisions is part of becoming a professional, you know, student. And the last point there is actually just looking at the time. So the tests have been changing. You know, this year we've done everything. Paper online. It's all happened. The students being able to be conscious of that time, whether it's the time on the screen or if it's the clock in the room, whatever timepiece is being used, students need to be conscious of that and not rely on an invigilator or a teacher or someone else to tell them, okay, you should be up to here now. Now you should be starting the next section. You have 5 minutes left. I mean, these are skills that, or reminders that you would get in a lesson, and as you should, because it's a skill to learn time management. When it comes to the test, though, that none of those, helpers are there. So if you're also able to master that skill, then it means you're taking your best self, less stress, less anxious, more precise and decisive, to be able to sit down and then really spend that energy on reading comprehension and getting the correct answers. That's me for today. So I hope that's given some good information, good advice to people who are thinking about looking at their selective test.
Thank you very much, Kelly.
Thanks, David.
Yeah, I believe our parents found it really informative presentation. Appreciate that. Okay, so thank you, Kelly. I will see you tomorrow. Tonight you got nearly 1,000 parents registered for this webinar. So I'm not sure whether I can answer all your questions tonight. So anything I couldn't answer tonight, you can email me. My email address is shown here, david@newcollege.com.au. Okay, let's have a quick look at some of the questions coming from, this webinar was designed for the current year for parents, which was regarding the 2023 selective school exam. But I realized that there are many year 5 parents as well. So, okay, don't get me wrong. So for the current year 5 students, their exam date is 9th of March in 2022. 10th of March 2022. And for current year 4 parents, year 4 students, 9th of March in 2023. So it's Thursday, week 7 of term 1. So don't be confused. Okay. So is there a school score in 20? Yes. So there are different situations. For current year 5, they will sit the exam on 10th of March next year. After the exam, they will calculate the placement score, which is out of 120 marks. But due to the COVID pandemic and lockdown situation, online learning, so they have decided to exclude school score at this time. So for current year 5 students, it will be entirely based on exam mark, and they will calculate 120 mark placement score from the exam performance, okay? But for current year 4, it will be back to normal. So during next year, they will assess your child's school performance in English and math, and they will provide the school mark for 2023 exam. So that's the difference, okay? Yes, there are mixed group in this webinar. Sorry about that. Okay, so anyway, the current year 5 students will get a test authority email 2 weeks before the exam, which is in late February. So you should be aware of all the information about the 2022 exam anyway. So I was talking about the 2023 selective school exam. So 2022 test format. Next year, March, exam will be paper-based test. I think it will be the last paper-based test. And then from 2023, it will become computer-based test. Yes. Okay, the question from Fiona. Mathematical reasoning is different from thinking skill. Yeah, mathematical reasoning is one of the 4 test components. Mathematical reasoning is formal mathematics test. Mathematical reasoning test is, you can say that it's mathematics test. And there is a separate test, which is thinking skill, that will assess the students' problem solving skills and critical thinking skills. It's different test, yes. Yes, yeah. Yes, 9th of March next year, it will be paper-based test. Writing test, next year test will be paper-based test. And in the following year, in 2023, it will be online test. That means students should need to type their writing using their keyboard on the screen. Yes. Yes, this is this webinar is being recorded. So once we finish the webinar, you can replay this webinar again using the same link when you join this webinar. Okay. Yep, the scholarship exam for year 5, year 4, the same day. This Sunday, 12th of December, 9 a.m. or 1 p.m. according to your registration. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The school mark, which is 20 marks, that means 16% of total score. Yes. Yeah, 2023 test will be 9th of March. The school mark will be based on, Rupa, the school mark will be based on mainly in year 5 schoolwork. Year 5 term 1, term 2, and term 3. Yeah. So next year during year 5, your child should maintain very high standard in mathematics and English area all the time. The STTC test difficulty will be a bit challenging, more challenging than actual exam. Yeah. Question from Sarah? Yeah. Sarika asked, can we get an old paper of the Select? No, you won't be able to check the past papers except the recent one. 2021 exam paper is available on the website and also at the cyber school. So you can check the most recent test format from the cyber school website with the review video. Yeah. Okay. Okay, ASAT date hasn't been confirmed yet. We need to find out all the testing center availability, and then we will announce in early January. Will it be early February or late January? Yeah, we will let you know soon. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The ASAT is the very popular program because it provides most realistic exam paper. So that's the most up-to-date one. So everybody wants to try the ASAT exam paper. So that's why we always organize ASAT exam event before the test, usually in early February. Yeah. How do we know whether the school will provide school score assessment? Yes. For the private school parents, once you submit your application online for the selective school placement, you will get a email with the attachment that is the application form you need to submit to your child's school. Then you need to ask them to process, ask them to sign and fill in the school section of the form. At that time, if the school officially decline to processing your application, that means your child won't get the school mark. In that case, all the exam, all the placement score will be based on your child's exam score. Yes. Yeah, there are so many questions. Okay, if you have a specific question about your child or any doubt about the 2023 exam, please email me to david@newcal.com.au, and then I will get back to you as soon as possible. Okay. Thank you very much. And this is the last webinar we can offer this year, and we will come back with more latest information in term one next year. And I hope everybody safe during the holiday season and wish you have a very happy Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you very much.